So before we start this video, let me make one thing crystal clear so there are no misconceptions. This is not necessarily a review of Assassin's Creed Shadows, the game. This is a look at Assassin's Creed Shadows, the Nintendo Switch 2 port. I've already reviewed Assassin's Creed Shadows on the channel, much like I had already reviewed Star Wars Outlaws on the channel before it came to the Nintendo Switch 2. From a technological perspective, Star Wars Outlaws ran much better and looked much better than I thought it would on the Nintendo Switch 2. Does that mean I like the game all of a sudden and I love the game? No, those two things can exist on different planes and different wavelengths. All because a game is technologically impressive doesn't necessarily make it good, and vice versa. I have to clarify that because when I did my video on Star Wars Outlaws for the Switch 2, people were like, there was some people on Twitter that were like, oh, look, he likes the game now because it's on Nintendo Switch 2. He's a fraud. And it's like, if you watch 30 seconds of that video, you would know that I said I still am not a huge fan of the game. I'm looking at it from a technological perspective. So that's what we're doing here with Assassin's Creed Shadows on the Switch 2. Ubisoft did give me a code for this game, so shout outs to Ubisoft. The game does retail for $60 on the Nintendo Switch 2. Kind of a high price point considering you can get the game on sale on other platforms. But I played this game on the Xbox Series X and I didn't really love it. You know, I got kind of bored with it. And my feelings pretty much remain the same here with the Switch 2 version of the game. Like I said, I am just looking at this from a more technological perspective. Everyone knows about Yasuke and Naue and stuff like that and how the characters are and what you do in Assassin's Creed Shadows. This is just a look. Really, it's a gameplay look with me just sort of talking over it. And it's interesting. You know, it's pretty interesting how this game looks and how this game performs, where I was pleasantly surprised with Star Wars Outlaws. And I mean, to be fair, they did fix some of the core gameplay things that people had issues with, such as the stealth mechanic being hard baked into the game. And then they made it so it wasn't hard baked into the game. Assassin's Creed Shadows, it doesn't seem like they've really changed. They've really changed much of anything. Like the weird map thing where you gotta like scout stuff and like go into an area and try to find stuff. Like, I don't know, maybe some people like that. I wasn't a huge fan of it. The story remains the same. Like, I'm trying to get my tea dress and go to the tea party to do some reconnaissance as Naue. Like, just let me slash some people, dude. Let me hack and slash some people. Right now in the game, I'm actually just looking for some fun, looking to chop up some enemies. But you've seen the gameplay thus far, and I think it's kind of a mixed bag. That's kind of where I would say I lie with this game. Now, first and foremost, I think the graphics actually look pretty nice. Like, they are very clean, very sharp. The environmental effects, such as, you know, destruction and stuff like that, everything is still implemented in this version of the game. You can still hack up the bamboo. I remember some reviewers when this game first came out were pretty excited, pretty thrilled at the bamboo hacking in the game. But no, like from a strictly graphical perspective, I think the game looks very nice. It looks very sharp. It looks very clean for the most part. There are times where it seems like fog. I know it's just N64 trauma, but the fog seems to be kind of hiding something. But like the animations for the characters are all good. The character models look really nice. And honestly, they even managed to kind of like nail hair. And I know that sounds kind of weird because, you know, it's hair. But like for whatever reason, Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 games seem to have this problem with hair. Like, think about pretty much every game that's come out, there's been like weird hair stuff. Like, think about Mortal Kombat, the weird hair stuff in that. But in this game, the hair all looks very nice. I think the environments look nice. There's nice little details and effects. The weather and effects are also included in the game. So there's rain, there's wind, you know, the trees are moving around and stuff. Yes, there is pop-up. It's not super noticeable, but there is pop-up from time to time. But overall, it looks nice on the eyes for the most part, except when you're in motion, because that's where things get kind of weird. And I was under the impression that this was a locked 30 frames per second. Going back to yesterday's Red Dead video, I'm fine with a locked 30. I'm fine with a locked 60. I prefer a locked 60 because there is a noticeable difference. But a locked 30 in certain games can be good. Now, I played this game originally on the Xbox Series X, which was, a very nice, very polished game. But the frame rate, I don't know. It seems like this may be a frame pacing issue, and a lot of it comes down to certain times when you're in certain towns and doing certain things, because sometimes the game feels very nice, very fluid, and then sometimes I hop on my horse in a town or something and it doesn't feel, it feels like you could feel the frame rate going down, and you start to move the camera around a little bit, and like it's like, oh well, this doesn't feel like 30 frames per second. It feels like it's dipping quite a bit, and I'm not sure if that's a raw frame rate sort of thing. I mean, I'm not Digital Foundry or anything like that, or if it is a frame pacing issue. So I'm sure Digital Foundry will eventually come along and cover this port, but it is noticeable. And, it kind of does take me out of the game a little bit. And to be fair to Ubisoft, not to say that their games are great or anything like that, but they're still optimizing Star Wars Outlaws on the Switch too. They have done several patches since I first looked at the game, and it actually looks even better now. But I think this is a game that will get some patches in terms of when you're in a town on a horse, or even on foot. Sometimes it seems like it happens, and I don't really know if there's necessarily a rhyme or a reason to like what kind of triggers it, because like this battle I'm doing here, there's obviously a lot of characters on screen, there's a lot of things happening, there's a lot of people being chopped up, but nothing seems to be going terribly wrong with it or anything like that. And then there's times where like I'm just walking around and like the game, it looks really gorgeous. Like I love the lighting here, and like the light coming through the trees, and the rain happening on the ground, and just kind of walking around and taking in this moment, seeing the trees moving around, seeing the nice clean textures all over the place. Like there are times where the game looks very visually pleasing, but then there's times where it does get a little bit crusty and a little bit murky. But overall, I don't think it's a terrible port. This is a game that was designed with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X in mind. They were not factoring in the Nintendo Switch 2, no matter what some of these Nintendo fanboys will try and tell you. But obviously the game didn't exactly light the world on fire in terms of sales statistics, so they wanted to put it on more systems. Like, look at this. Like, look at this with a dog. You could see like the dog shaking off his fur in the distance and stuff like that. And then like, yeah, I like to pet the dogs. I'm going to be petting the dogs quite a bit. But like overall, like I don't think it's a terrible port or anything like that. It's just I don't think it's quite as good as Star Wars Outlaws yet, because of the frame pacing when you're in towns on a horse and you're moving at a somewhat brisk pace. And I think that will be fixed along the way. But I still don't like the game. Like, it was kind of painful for me just to play this far into it. Honestly, I would rather just play as Yasuke. Like, just let me hack through dudes and stuff like that. Like, Naue is cool, but, like, I don't like the missions, and I don't like some of the mission structure and some of the stuff you're, like, doing in the game. Like, the combat is fun. The combat should be a more focal point. I get it. You're a ninja. You got to sneak around and stuff like that, but you could get a little bit crazy with it. You can have fun with it. I don't know. It's still not a great game. And I wouldn't pay $60 for it. Like, if I paid $60 for it just to make this video, I would be highly annoyed. But like I said, shout out to Ubisoft for the review copy. If you're morbidly curious about the game, it's available on other platforms. If you don't have another platform, wait a little bit. It'll be on sale on the Switch too. $30, something like that, $25, $20. Yeah, okay. That's not bad. But $60 for a game that I don't love in the first place, and you know, it needs a little bit of work around the edges. Like, I'm good on that. But let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think about this footage? Do you think it looks nice? Do you think it looks crappy? Do you think, I don't know, just what do you think in general? I try to show kind of different times of the day and, you know, different weather effects going on. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to leave a like. If you didn't enjoy the video, be sure to leave a dislike. Give me your thoughts, share the video around, subscribe if you are new. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.